How is it going, everyone? This is Andrew, and today I'm going to continue working in this project, this 340i that has been sitting here in my garage for a few days. And today we're going to go ahead, disassemble and assemble some more stuff and put back some parts that just came in for the front end. That was that collision. And then I'm going to go ahead and walk you through what this car needed and what we need to do up next and why this car is so special. So let's get to it. So here we are, the car is the front end is almost assembled, and as you can see here, we put most of the parts in with the help of my good friend Ben. So what we did here is we actually assembled the front subframe, and what we had to do on the subframe is we had to replace these front subframe bars, because actually the collision on the car was on the front, and because it was on the front, I think this car was like, it came under a truck, so it was smashed to the inside. So all those parts on the top were damaged, including the hood that is sitting over there, and everything else on the top side was damaged, like from the top to bottom. Now there are more parts. The parts that were actually on the bottom, I have to show you that, are actually here, and these are all the plastic parts. These are really expensive parts if you buy them individually, and thank God they came with this car, and they're going to go back to the bottom of the front end. Now why we did put this subframe here is because we had to measure the distances and everything and see if everything aligns properly. This frame here was bent inside, and that had crushed the air filter and everything that was sitting here. Well, the good side is that it was on this side, because there are a lot of components, including the computer, that were going to be damaged. In this end, it was only the air filter that was broken, and we replaced the whole air box, and I just put back the sensors and everything else. It is ready to go. It is looking great, and the holes and everything else here align perfectly. It needs a little bit of tweaking, but we'll see in the end. Now, what else we put? We assembled these parts here and these parts here, and as you see, I am really troubled how this happened, but this car was hit in the front from up, but this bottom radiator that was sitting here was also damaged and was actually broken. So this radiator is supposed to be sitting behind here. It's the auxiliary radiator for the M package models. Some of them have it, the M package has it, the non-M package do not have it. So what is actually done here is there are two sides, and usually there are two auxiliary radiators. Here we have only one. Special. This engine that you see sitting right here is the same one that is sitting on a Toyota Supra, and it was developed by BMW and Toyota, and it outputs around 340 horsepower, and it's a paradise for tuners. Well, some things that I learned about this engine is that it doesn't have a front-mounted intercooler, but instead it has a front heat exchanger, which is sitting at a box over here. And what this heat exchanger is actually exchanging, it's an intercooler, but the intercooler is actually inside the intake. This is the intake, there is intercooler inside, and what this allows us is it cools water instead of air, so it takes it into the engine a lot faster. And what this allows is for the air to travel a shorter time from the turbocharger that is down there to the intake. So that means there's only one pipe, and I will show you these parts that arrive here. There's only this pipe here that goes from the turbocharger to the intake. Woo! So when I saw this design, I was like, oh my god, where's the intercooler? And the intercooler is in there. So that's what makes this engine special, and that's what makes this car really special. So another thing that we had to do with this car is to get new front headlights. We ordered these pretty nice headlights that are sitting in this box, and these are really hard to find, really rare headlights. I had to contact the dealership to make sure that this car has adaptive or non-adaptive headlights. There are two types, basically three types of headlights: the halogen, the LED, and the non or adaptive LED. So there are three types. So you have to contact their dealership or finding in your spec sheet. This came from the auction. I didn't know if they was there or not, and so I had to contact them and make sure that these are the non-adaptive headlights. But we have a problem. We actually have a really big problem with this car, and we have to solve it fast. It is missing a really important part, and it's the wiring harness for the front headlights. And that is because when the insurance company disassembled this car, they actually cut the wires that are here, so there are no wires inside the car for the front headlights and anything else, actually, not even the airbag sensors and everything else. So anyone that has this kind of component or a wiring harness for an F30 2015 to 2019, please contact me. Another issue we have here is this part. This pulley was damaged, and that pulley doesn't come by itself. It comes with a pulley tensioner. It was a fairly inexpensive part, 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 1 on the bottom, and you take that off and you're good to go. One other part that was damaged, this nipple here for the return of the coolant, it was broken off, and we had actually a hard time finding it. And we found it was on the small pipe of the return pipe, which is this one here. And we actually found it inside here. We were really lucky, and we were able to plastic weld it and put some epoxy that is not going anywhere anymore. And also there's not a big of a deal because this is just for the return when the coolant tops off and everything else. One other thing, we have a problem here. This is the vacuum line for the fuel pressure sensor. And what was wrong here, the vacuum line was actually broken where the sensor is, and I do have the parts here. I cannot find it anywhere, so I will have to plastic weld it. And this is the part that goes right here and snaps into place, and I will plastic weld that part. I'll make it really ugly, but make sure it can hold. And last but not least, we placed the fender and make sure everything aligns correctly. All the bolts are in place. We took our measurements. We also have the new side panels, which are for the M Sport model, which have to go on the bottom. Align everything. So once we get the hood and the front bumper, we put everything on and make sure everything aligns properly. All the gups are perfect. Send the parts for paint and put it back. So what else we need to do is actually put some small parts back, like the closers. We have them over there for the hinges, actually, for the hood. Put back all the intercooler, the radiator, which is actually over there, and the heat exchanger. Of course, place everything into place, put everything into place, including the fan with a new fan shroud. And so we wrap up this baby. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of this 340i. Once we finish this car, we're gonna go ahead with a complete list and with a complete parts list and how much this car costs us and how much the part costs us and the total cost of this project. So I'm gonna give you ahead the insights and everything else of all the parts and the total cost, so you guys know that how much it costs us. So if you want to buy one of those, or if you want to do this kind of project, you know what kind of prices you're looking for. A disclaimer, it wasn't that expensive as I was expecting. So for everyone watching, thank you very much for being here, and thanks for supporting my channel. If you like this content, please make sure to like or subscribe to my channel. It will help me a lot and it will make me make more of these videos. So till next time, I'll see you.